It's late, and you're doing that thing you do when you shouldn't. You open your bank app, even though you already know what it's going to say. You scroll past the balance quickly, like if you don't look directly at it, it won't count as real. Then you start doing the small mental math. Okay, rent is in 4 days, the card payment is due Friday, gas, groceries. And the worst part is not the numbers. It's the feeling that your brain never fully clocks out. Even when you're resting, money is still running in the background. In this video, I'm going to explain why your first $10,000 changes your financial life more than the next $90,000, and why that's not motivational advice, it's a structural reality. Once you understand it, you'll know exactly what to prioritize and why it reduces stress so fast. Here's the core idea. The first $10,000 isn't about being rich. It's about leaving financial survival mode. It's the point where money stops being only a crisis response tool and starts becoming a stability tool. The next $90,000 can absolutely matter, but it mostly improves your future. The first $10,000 improves your day-to-day brain function, and that difference changes your decisions, your patience, and your ability to follow any financial plan without constantly falling off. Most people believe the big change happens later. They think the real financial turning point is a higher salary, a six-figure net worth, a big investment account, or finally feeling ahead. And when they don't have that yet, they feel behind, or they feel like they're failing. But the reality is quieter and more practical. Your financial life doesn't improve in a straight line. It improves in thresholds. The first major threshold isn't $100,000. For most adults, the first true threshold is having enough cash to absorb normal life without panic. That's why $10,000 hits differently. Not because it's impressive, because it creates margin, and margin is what lets you think. When you're low on cash, you don't just have less money, you have less mental bandwidth. Your brain becomes a 24-hour monitoring system. Every unexpected expense creates a chain reaction. A late fee becomes a bigger balance, which becomes a harder month, which becomes more avoidance, which becomes less information, which becomes worse decisions. This is scarcity psychology, not you're bad with money, not you lack discipline. It's more like trying to make good decisions while you're holding your breath. When the brain feels that resources are tight, it starts prioritizing. Today over next month, relief over strategy, quick fixes over stable systems. That's why people with financial stress often feel exhausted even when they're not doing anything dramatic. They're doing constant internal management. Your first $10,000 is powerful because it interrupts the anxiety loop. Not permanently, not magically, but enough to restore calm decision-making. Now let's put this in order, clearly. Because $10,000 only changes your life if it's built on the right sequence. Here's the order. Step 1. Before you build savings, you must stop the bleeding. That means you need a basic view of what's coming in, what must go out, and which categories are quietly expanding. Not spreadsheets, not perfection, just clarity. If your cash flow is negative, saving will feel like punishment, and you'll keep needing to restart. Step 2. Before you aim for $10,000, you need a small buffer. Call it $500, $1,000, or one paycheck. This is not your forever emergency fund. This is your I can breathe for a second fund. It prevents small problems from turning into credit card problems. Step 3. Only after that you build the $10,000. And here's the key. The $10,000 is not a wealth goal, it's a stability goal. It's the first time you can handle a car repair, a medical dell, a short gap in income, travel for a family situation, without the entire month collapsing. Step 4. After stability, you accelerate. This is where the next $90,000 starts to matter. Investing consistently, increasing income without desperation, taking calculated risk, building long-term net worth. But before stability, acceleration creates stress. After stability, acceleration creates momentum. That's the order. Now let's make this real. When you have your first $10,000, several things shift that people don't expect. Work decisions get calmer. You stop feeling forced to tolerate every situation because you can't afford any disruption. You can negotiate, take a weekend to think, apply for better roles without panic, leave a job after planning, not during a breakdown. You don't become fearless, you become less trapped. Spending becomes less emotional. When you're financially tight, spending often becomes relief purchasing, not because you're irresponsible, because you're worn down. With a cash buffer, you don't need relief as often because your life is less constantly on edge. Saving becomes easier because it stops feeling pointless. When you're at $300, saving $50 can feel like it changes nothing. When you're at $7,000 and building toward $10,000, saving has a visible purpose. I'm building stability. Purpose creates consistency. Risk tolerance becomes rational.
Without savings, investing can feel like gambling because any dip feels dangerous. With savings, you can invest patiently, not because you're brave, because you're not using your investment account as an emergency fund. Opportunities become visible. When you're in survival mode, you miss options. With $10,000, you can say yes to things like a certification, a short-term pay cut for a better path, moving for a better job, buying time to solve a problem properly. This is why the first $10,000 isn't just money, it's flexibility. Here's what changes internally. Before $10,000, many people live with an identity like, I'm always catching up. After $10,000, the identity quietly becomes, I have a base. Not a fantasy, not a finish line, a base. And once you have a base, your behavior changes in small ways that compound. You check your numbers more often because it's less painful. You plan earlier because planning feels wistful now. You stop needing miracles and start needing systems. If you've ever crossed that first stability threshold, whether it was $5,000, $10,000, or 1 month of expenses, you know the feeling. It's not excitement, it's quiet mental space. If you want to share in the comments, a useful question is, what amount would make you feel like you can finally breathe without checking your account every day? The most common mistake people make with the first $10,000 is this. They treat it like an achievement badge instead of a tool. Psychologically, it happens because hitting a number creates a release, and the brain wants to spend that release. It sounds like, I worked so hard, I deserve something. And you might, but here's the calm rule. Your first $10,000 should be boring, not because you can't enjoy your life, but because its job is not to entertain you. Its job is to protect your decision-making. Another version of the same mistake is investing it too aggressively before you have stability. Investing is important, but if you invest money that you secretly might need next month, you won't invest well. You'll watch it, stress about it, and pull it out at the wrong time. So the warning is simple. Don't turn your stability fund into a performance fund. Different job, different bucket. If you're not at $10,000 yet, this video is not telling you that you're behind. It's telling you the opposite. There is a clear, reachable threshold where things start to feel different. And if you've been financially stressed, you don't need 10 complicated tactics right now. You need the right order. Stabilize cash flow, build a small buffer, then build a real base. Because the first $10,000 doesn't just change your finances. It changes your nervous system. It gives your brain enough space to make adult decisions without panic in the background. And once you're making calm decisions consistently, the next $90,000 becomes far more realistic because you're no longer building on stress. If this brought clarity, you'll find more of it here on Clear Money Order.